Good afternoon and welcome to this episode of Hunt's Corner Hunter. This will be part 6 of our How to Turkey Hunt series, and today we're going to focus on scouting. We're going to focus on two kinds of scouting today. We're going to talk about e-scouting and we're going to talk about scouting in the field in person. Let's take a look at e-scouting first. When I started in this business 25 years ago, most of our scouting was done with paper maps like this. This is a topographical map put out by the U.S. Geologic Survey. We've also had aerial photographs and land ownership maps that look like this. Over the years, maps changed, and eventually about halfway through my career, you got topographic maps like this one, which actually had aerial photographs overlaid on them. We gained GPSs, and those were helpful for a while. And eventually, we got Google Earth on our computers. Nowadays, the game has changed completely. I do almost all my scouting now with this, the smartphone, because with the advent of OnX mapping a few years ago, it has completely changed how e-scouting works. And when I say e-scouting, I mean the scouting you do either on paper or electronically before you go out into the field. You can do a lot of homework sitting in your own office or your own house before you even get out into the field. And the advent of mapping technology that's available online and on your smart device has changed that dramatically. Let me show you on OnX what I look for and how I use this for my turkey hunting scouting. So here you can see an OnX map of an area that I've been looking at. And as I go through this, I'm going to look for certain things. First of all, I'm going to look for areas where a turkey would be inclined to roost. When possible, turkeys like to roost on the edge of a hillside or a ridge where they can fly off the side of that ridge and land in the tree and do the same thing in the morning when they fly down. They can just sail off out of the tree and land on the ridge top. If that ridge has open areas, so much the better. If there's water at the bottom of the ridge, like there's a creek or a creek valley or flooded timberlands, all the best. And if there's a strutting area nearby, you've got a prime place to look for turkeys. So in this topographic map combined with an aerial photograph, you can see there's a ridge that runs along here. You've got water and swamplands here to the north. You've got a field out here to the south. So this ridge line is a perfect place for a turkey to roost. You've got the protection of water underneath the roost tree. You've got big timber. You've got a ridge that the turkey can easily fly off of. And you've got a field or pasture close by. That's one of the first things I'm going to look for. The second thing I'm going to look for are strutting areas. And turkeys like to strut in different kinds of areas. They'll strut in fields like this. You see we got several fields here. They can strut in surprisingly small areas sometimes. If there's a little bench somewhere on the hillside or maybe the top of the hill has a little flat open area, they may get on that little bench and strut. There's an old logging road. It's not shown on this map, but there's an old logging road that runs along the bottom of this hill. And you can see part of it here in yellow where I've marked it. They'll strut up and down those logging roads a lot of times. And finally, sometimes you'll get a swamp turkey that will find him an area of high ground out in this swamp. Let me pull up the topographic map. And you can see that all this creek bottom is swamp. There may be an area out here no more than 10 yards across that's high ground that stays dry. A turkey may get out on that and strut and spend the whole day there. It just depends on what that particular turkey likes to do. So that's a couple of things I'm going to look for. I'm going to look for an area where a turkey might roost, like a hillside, close to water, and I'm going to look for potential strutting areas. The other thing I'm going to look for is there an obstacle that might get between me and the turkey? A turkey gobbler is not inclined to go over or around certain kinds of obstacles. If I'm set up over here and there's a turkey on this hillside over here, he may fly down on this side of the branch here, but if he's over here on this side on the ground, he's probably not going to cross that branch or that stream and come to me. He might, but I wouldn't count on it. If you've got a turkey on this side and you're on this side and you've got access to both sides, you're probably better off to go up, cross, and then come back down. So keep things like that in mind. This is why these maps are useful. You can look at them and learn about the terrain and learn what might get in that bird's way. Is there a fence road that's between me and him? He's not liable to cross a wire fence. He might, but he might not. You can look for other things. Is there a clear cut that's all thick and growed up that might keep him from coming towards me? Look for that kind of stuff. The other thing you can do with these maps is you can look and tell what kind of timber type there is and whether or not a turkey's liable to be there. For example, I can look at this map and see that this area over here, here, and here is all planted pines. And I look over here and I see there's more planted pines. You can see the trees are planted in nice even rows. However, all of this is hardwood. This ridge top is hardwood and the bottomland is hardwood. We know from looking at this earlier that this is all creek bottom. This is going to have a particular timber type that's different from what's here or here. So you can look at these kind of maps and find all different kinds of things. These maps are also useful for, if you have it on your phone like I do, you can mark things you find in the field. For example, I mark where I found turkey tracks, or maybe I found water, or if I deer hunt a property, I may have deer stands up. So these maps are very useful for allowing you to get information before you go out into the field. So once you've got your e-scouting done, the next step you've got to take is you've actually got to get out in the woods and walk around, walk through the fields, look for sign, and get confirmation that there is turkeys in the area. To do that, you're going to look for a lot of different things. First thing you're going to obviously look for is turkey tracks. And in this little video clip that we're about to look at, you'll see some turkey tracks that I find out in a field. Okay, folks, so we're out here looking for some turkey sign this afternoon. And on the edge of this field, we have found some turkey tracks. Okay, here's a set of tracks. Looks like it was made, let's see, today's Monday. It last rained on Saturday, Friday night. These were probably made Thursday or Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, about 4 days ago. You see, they're kind of weathered a little bit. But you pick up this knife, come over here, and you see these tracks. And they're a little fresher. These were made since Sunday morning, so today or yesterday. He came down the edge of this field. I say it's he. Looks like it's a young gobbler. You get further over here, see some of these tracks, like this one, are the same length as my knife. So I think this is a young gobbler. He came down along the edge of this field and walked across. This tells us that almost time for turkey season. So obviously, looking at those tracks, we know that there's turkeys in the area. There are other things you can look for as well. You'll want to look at the tracks and try to identify whether or not they're from a gobbler or a hen. And you do that by looking at the size of the track. Any track that's, say, 4.5 inches or larger, about the length of my pocket knife that you saw there, and the length of the pocket knife that you'll see in this picture, is probably from a gobbler. If it's shorter than that, it's probably from a hen. Now, it's still important information because it tells you that there is a turkey in the area, but you can also look at it and tell exactly whether it's a gobbler who may be strutting in that area, is it a hen passing through. Different things that you can learn from looking at tracks. The next thing you're going to look for is turkey feathers, because turkeys often shed feathers as they dust out and around the field, or if gobblers or hens get in a fight, sometimes they'll shed feathers. You may find feathers from the wingtips, like the one in this picture, or you may find some of the secondary feathers that look like this. This one is from a gobbler, so that tells you that obviously there's a gobbler in the area. And again, that's vital information that you can use to develop a sense of, are there turkeys in the area? Where are they hanging out? Where do they like to go? And give you another piece of the puzzle. The most important thing that you're going to get out of this is a knowledge of the land and where the birds are and where they're liable to go. Other things you can look at are turkey droppings. And in this picture, you can see two different kinds of turkey droppings. Gobbler droppings are going to be somewhat cigar-shaped with a gentle hook on the end. Hen droppings are going to be convoluted and twisted like a spaghetti noodle twisted upon itself. There are other kinds of signs you can look at as well. A big one is evidence of turkey scratching. And in this picture, which you can see on the screen, you can see these turkeys have wrecked over that area pretty good. In fact, when I first found this, we thought herd of wild hogs had gotten in there, but upon closer inspection, I realized it was a really big flock of turkeys. That tells me something. There was a big flock that moved through that area in the not so distant past. Other things you'll look for are little bowl-shaped depressions, like the one on the screen, where a turkey gets in the field and dust. They coat themselves with dust. I think it helps keep the bugs and stuff off. On the end, that's another piece of the puzzle that you can look at and understand what the birds are doing in that area. The final piece to all this is that you need to confirm what you found on all your e-scouting. We talked earlier about an area that is potentially a good spot for turkeys to roost. Look at this video clip and you can see that going out and inspecting the area in person revealed that it is indeed a good place for turkeys to roost. And we only can confirm that by going out there and looking at it. So this is the kind of place turkey likes to roost. You got a ridge here, big trees on it. And as you drop off this ridge, you go down in the swamp where there's water. Keeps the predators from getting up under their tree. Another thing I like to do is I like to put out trail cameras. I primarily use these for deer hunting, but they work very well for turkey hunting too. If you put a trail camera in a major traffic area, like intersection of a couple of logging roads, or a road that enters the edge of a field, or maybe there's a trail, a game trail that comes out into a field. If you put a trail cam there, sometimes you'll get pictures of turkeys coming by. You could also set them to video mode and look at this video of these turkeys walking by this persimmon tree that I put a trail camera on. That told me that there were turkeys, in this case gobblers, hanging out in that area. Final piece that you're going to get from spending time out in the field looking is gaining an understanding of the landscape. What does the land look like? What's out there in this old abandoned field? Has it been mowed recently, or is it grown up in broom sage? What are the woods like over here? Are they open and nice and clean where a turkey might be inclined to feed and strut and scratch? Is it a jungle? Is it a clear cut that's full of sweet gums about as big around as your elbow? What's over here? What about that creek? Is it deep enough that you can wade through it, or is it going to be something that you're going to be wet from the waist down? All of these are vital pieces of information that you need to know and can be confirmed only by going out there and looking at the land. I believe having an intimate understanding of the landscape is probably more important than anything, including calling. We've talked about in the past how much calling is overrated. I think being able to know the land and understand the land is going to carry you farther and help you kill more turkeys than anything else. If you do like I do and you hunt the same piece of property your entire life, you don't have to do as much scouting. But if I'm going to go hunt a new place of land, maybe some public land, or maybe I get an access to a property I've never been able to hunt before, then I'm going to need to do some homework before I get out there. You may not be able to do all your homework before the season opens, but as you hunt, you can continue to build on that knowledge, and as you learn more and more about a piece of property, it becomes more and more easy for you to hunt it. That more or less wraps up scouting. This was not a very long video, but it is a very important topic. And so you've still got some time in most areas to get out and scout before the turkey season opens. We're about 10 days away here in Georgia. A couple of states have already opened up their turkey season. If you still have time, get out there, do some scouting. That wraps up this episode of Hunts Corner Hunter. In our final video next week, we will talk about the actual hunt itself, how to set up in the woods, what to do when you get there, how to work the bird, what to do when a bird does this, and what to do when a bird does not do what you want. Until next time, thanks for watching.